Good morning and welcome to the Legislative Committee on Administrative Rules, December 3rd. It's unusual for us to meet on a Wednesday, typically on a Thursday, but since we had an all-member briefing today, we thought this would be an efficient use of all the members' time to try to do both. So if it's an hour and a half meeting, of course, 2 hours, you have 6 rules, which is a lot, but I'm not seeing much controversy in those rules. So hopefully we'll get through this fine. Before we get started, I want to do introductions, starting to my left.
Representative Mark Higley from the Orleans Lamoille District.
Representative Larry Seidkowitz from Randolph.
Damian Leonard from the Office of Legislative Counsel.
And Senator Rob Plunkett, Bennington District.
Senator Scott Beck, Caledonia District.
Yeah, Representative Charlie Squirrel, Underhill and Jericho, and
Representative Carol Odie, Burlington.
And Senator Seth Bongartz from the Bennington Senate District.
we have our committee assistant
Steve Trier, Legislative Council.
and Ledge Council to be our next committee assistant, right?
So Bradley Sherman will be here next month at the end of the table.
First item on the agenda are the minutes from November 13th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve? So moved. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Okay, the first rule we have up today is 25 E18, Agency of Transportation Rules relating to the closure of state highways. Ian? The Goodis, that's just what it looks like for the agency, yeah, please.
Good morning. I'm Ian DeGudis, State Traffic Engineer with the Agency of Transportation and the Traffic Committee's Staff Coordinator. So for this rule, 25P018, rules related to closure of state highways. Would you like me to step through the changes or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Any highlights you think we might want to hear about?
Yeah. So this rule is, or this update to this rule is generally administrative and fairly technical. There's also a correction we submitted recently. Damian found a minor typographical error, missing period in it. But it includes the, changes to the references to statutes and updates to position titles and references to conform with current organizational names. So we replaced Department of Highways with the Agency of Transportation, and the District Transportation Administrator is the current title for that same position. We also struck out the reference, or I should say the Traffic Committee did. I'm not a member of the Traffic Committee, I'm representing them. Struck out the reference to winter weather to allow a little more flexibility for other types of emergencies that may not be a winter event, such as a flood, where the need to close a state highway may be emergent. So we also added in a little bit of language about notifying the public through appropriate means, which could include things like the 511 website or press releases through the media, as well as static signage and dynamic signage, the portable changeable message signs, social media posts, but whatever means are deemed appropriate for the closure and the emergency as it exists. Obviously, emergent situations come in many forms. So I think that's most of the changes to that one. It's a fairly short rule, fairly straightforward changes, I believe.
Yeah, we also received a memo Monday, right? Yeah, just a minor change.
Yeah, this one just includes that missing period.
Okay, just punctuation.
Yeah.
Okay. Committee, any questions, comments? Yes.
Just real briefly, Mr. Chair, you talked about that public notification and it says we're deemed appropriate. Isn't there some sort of protocol currently as far as who to reach out to?
Protocol for, yeah, so typically that would go through and it's mentioned down below Traffic Management Center, the TMC. This was more, the language there was intentionally sort of broad to allow for, in the event of a widespread emergency, sometimes the protocols can change. And so we didn't want to box ourselves in unnecessarily in the event of, a wide scale flooding event, say. So yes, there are standard protocols in place, but we didn't want to codify them here because they exist elsewhere and maybe subject to change outside of this.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks.
Other committee members? Representative Odie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the traffic committee is now, even though it's not making the decisions about road closures, because that's too difficult to convene them conveniently, they do have authority over of the road closures. And now when we take them out and they no longer have authority, we kind of lose a check and balance. It's now only the Agency of Transportation that gets to make all the decisions about road closures. I noticed that there still has to be a report back to that traffic committee, but why would you just take the authority away from them and just not? I mean, I'm just concerned about the lack of a check and balance now.
I think that the reason here is simply that this is typically related to emergency situations. This is not something that is being done other than in an emergent situation where there frankly isn't time to convene a meeting of a body like the traffic committee. That if there's a damaged culvert or a bridge washed out, there's a need to respond to that very quickly, and having a single entity with the information and ability to act appropriately allows that to be handled promptly and at an appropriate pace to maintain safety of the highway network.
I totally understand that. I guess I'm concerned about the fact that at first there were three people who could, in effect, could regulate it, could step in and say, we don't like the way you've been closing roads. Now that you're taking out the traffic committee out of its regulatory authority, now there's no check and balance on the transportation committee. I'm talking the higher level, not I get it that people aren't around to three people can't decide whether to close something quickly enough. I get that.
Well, and with the disclaimer that I am a traffic engineer and not a lawyer, so I'll speak carefully with that disclaimer. I think that my understanding of this is that the traffic committee is delegating the authority rather than fully granting it. So there is still that check and balance of if the traffic committee finds that delegated authority is being abused or used in ways that they are concerned about, they have the ability to engage and continue to oversee that dynamic.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
It's just worth noting that the statute explicitly provides that the committee can delegate this authority to the agency. So that was legislative intent. Whether this legislature agrees with that intent or not, that is consistent with the statute. So they're not taking a step beyond that. I can't comment on whether the loss of the check and balance there is a good thing or not, but this is consistent with the statute.
Thank you.
So,
other questions, comments? Mr. Chair.
With that, if there's no more questions, I move that we approve 5 PO 18 Agency of Transportation Traffic Committee rules relating to the closure of the state highways with the change proposed by the Traffic Committee in the memorandum dated December 1st, 2025.
There's a motion to approve with that modification. Linda Bigley, any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The next up, we have Rule 25P19, Agency of Transportation rules by rules for establishing temporary speed limits. Up again.
All right, thank you. This rule, again, is largely an administrative update. The current rule contains a reference to a document from 1992 We've struck that reference and replaced it with a more general reference to the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, which is a standard published by Federal Highways and adopted by statute in Vermont. For traffic control devices, it covers all sorts of signs, pavement markings, et cetera, and their use. So we've replaced it with a reference to the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or MUTCD, and the most current Agency of Transportation guidance, leaving that again a little more generic to account for the fact that these standards and guidelines are likely to change more rapidly than rules are updated. So the general authorities here remain unchanged in parts 1 and 2. It's just what guidance is cited for their application.
Okay, committee members, questions, comments? Okay, I don't have any. The motion to approve.
Motion to approve 25 PO 19, Agency of Transportation's Traffic Committee rules for establishing temporary speed limit.
Motion for Representative Higley to approve Rule 25 P19. Any additional discussion? Saying done. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Next up is 25 P20, Agency of Transportation regulations governing use of state highways with limited access facilities. One more time.
All right, thank you. So the first change here is one that came out of some review through Damien, the committee's counsel, changing regulation to rules throughout the document for consistency with current practice of using the word rule for this type of document as opposed to regulation, which is more for federal regulations. So that changes throughout the document. Again, a lot of changes and updates to statutory reference, either statutes that have been modified or moved, different numbers, or just the formatting of the references throughout the document. Language cleanup in various locations. Happy to step through these one by one or go through them more quickly at your preference.
No, you don't need. Yeah.
All right. So language cleanup to bring things into sort of more modern terms than what's used here. Another change here, again at Damien's suggestion, I think this is very reasonable, very appropriate, is to strike the list of the traffic committee members because that's already defined in statute. So having it in 2 places just creates the possibility for inconsistency later if one or the other changes. So we just cited the statute where the information is and struck the list of members. Updates to wording again. Again, consistency, speed limit language is just bring it to be more consistent with the language in statute for other roads. Minimum speed limits is just a little more modern and clearer language. Cleanup of wording throughout. We added in a little bit of a change to the left lane prohibition to ensure that, vehicles are allowed to use the left lane to avoid merging traffic as well. Just a slight clarification there. Updates to wording again, statutory reference. There is the change throughout a number of places of replacing the word person with the word individual, again, for consistency with current practice in the use of those definitions. Statutory references, wording cleanup without changing the intent. Adding in references to motor driven cycles, which I think is a newer definition than this rule. So just trying to keep that consistent and clear and current. Updates to position titles again. Statutory references. Replacing the civil defense regulations provision with emergency powers to the governor for consistency with current practice. That civil defense is no longer the current use, but there is the desire still to have that, allow the governor an emergency declaration to have that control. And that's the current practice there. replacing solicitation of alms with solicitation of money or goods for consistency with, more modern language, a little bit easier for people to interpret. Minor updates to wording, individuals again. And then at the end, just removed a statutory reference because it's the rest of the rules doesn't include that statutory reference other than the front matter, and don't need to repeat it there. So those were the changes here, relatively minor, largely administrative technical changes. So on this one, I think based on conversations with Damien, we'd be asking the committee for any input, but we do want to bring this one back to the traffic committee at their regularly scheduled meeting next Wednesday. But would welcome any input from the committee to make sure that we can bring all the committee's feedback to the traffic committee next.
Yeah, it's my understanding that there were some recommended changes that are more than just minor technical changes, but not substantive changes either.
That's right.
The major committee needs to sign off on it. That's the reason for the extension.
Yeah, exactly. It's more than just adding a period or a missing comma, but it's not substantively changing the rule, but it's still in order to dot the i's and cross the t's after consulting with the Secretary of State. It was determined that the best way to do this was to make sure that it was officially approved and then came back here for an official vote, just so we don't run into any issues at some point where, for example, it would leave Lcar and then they would have an official meeting and not approve the changes or something like that.
Do we have a 45-day extension from?
You do.
We have that?
Yep.
Okay. And our next meeting is scheduled for December 18th, but I don't think there are any new rules right now. We will not probably have a meeting for that one rule. Okay, if that's only one. So that'll be in January. That's okay. If we were in session, it's different. I'm not having people travel for that.
I think that's quite reasonable.
Okay. You all set on this?
Yep, all set on that.
Don't need to vote on that.
I have a question.
Okay,
Mr.
sorry, Representative Odie.
All right, thank you. So I'm looking at Article 2, and it's the soliciting, and you mentioned it, you changed alms to money or goods prohibited. So I wanted to ask you, what about bake sales? I've been to bake sales at the limited access highway rest stops.
Yep. So I think that historically that's been the rest areas are under the control of BGS, and this rule isn't really considered to apply in that circumstance, that this is more, you can't have a lemonade stand on the side of Route 62, I think.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Wow. That alleviates a great deal of anxiety. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, any other comments or questions from committee members? Okay, we'll see you in January, probably. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Rule 25, P34, Department of Liquor and Lottery, updated Vermont lottery rules. And Steve Skyler Jeunesse. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that worked well. All right, you're up.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Legislative Committee. I'm the Senior Director of Licensee Operations for the Vermont Department of Liquor and Lottery, and I'm here representing the department for testimony relative to our final proposed rule update to CBR 1130001, governing the operation of the Vermont Lottery. This update modernizes the lottery's administrative rules to reflect the statutory consideration and consolidation of the former Department of Liquor Control and the Vermont Lottery Commission into the Unified Department of Liquor and Lottery as enacted by Act 1 of the 2018 special session. The proposal replaces outdated terminology throughout, clarifies licensing and enforcement provisions, and reinforces consumer protections. Before beginning too far, I will note that for the record that there are minor typographical corrections identified by Legislative Counsel in this document. There are minor punctuation adjustments and a few missing or misplaced words, but they will be corrected prior to submission to the adopted rule to the Secretary of State, and I'm happy to highlight those small typos as identified if needed. The current rule was last adopted in 2016, and since then, statutory and operational changes have rendered portions of the rule inconsistent with current law and practice. And so the department undertook this rulemaking to align the rule with current statutory authority under 31 VSA 651, replace obsolete references such as director replaced with commissioner or commission replaced with board, to clarify processes for licensing, suspension, and revocation of lottery licenses, reinforce age-based restrictions and consumer protections of lottery sales and products, and ensure operational clarity for more than 600 licensed lottery sales agents statewide. The department does not consider this rule controversial. It imposes no new fees, no substantive policy shifts, minimal administrative burden on small businesses. Our department's outreach has produced no objections or adverse feedback to the proposed rule. At this point in time, I'm happy to go line by line or identify highlights within the updated rule to reflect areas of interest for the community.
I don't think we need to do that.
Okay.
I do have a question though. In the summary, on the cover sheet, please, expands the commissioner's authority. Could you speak to that?
I can, yeah. All this simply does is realigns the regulatory rule to align with what statute already provides the commissioner in statute. The Special Session Act that combined the two departments vested that authority in the commissioner. That's also not novel to lottery. The commissioner also holds quite a bit of authority relative to the licensing of tobacco licenses in the state. So all this does is simply reflect what's granted to the commissioner in Title 31.
Yeah, I worked on that bill, and essentially everything the lottery director used to do was vested in the commissioner when the two were. But the rule was never updated to reflect that. So this is catching the rule up with the statute here to reflect that. Everywhere it said director in there, it really meant commissioner. So.
Representative Odie?
Thank you. On page 3 of the yellow sheets, in rule number 3, you've added let's see, it's at the top of the page, and it is rule number 3F. 3AF. No, 3F, just 3F. It's application or internet-based ordering. Can you tell me what that's about?
I can. Currently, the department does offer some online, we call it a subscription service for lottery play. That has existed for some time. We haven't specifically identified that process in rule as of yet, but that subscription service is online and internet-based. And so adding it to rule number 3 allows for the department to essentially offer seasonal or special applications or licenses that would allow it to take on subscription-based lottery purchase plans.
Sorry. Thank you. Like the kind of subscription that you have to, once you buy in, you're stuck until you tell them no, or what? Can you tell me about that?
I can tell you a little bit about it. It is a pretty popular program that the Vermont Lottery offers. So we have very many dedicated lottery players who consistently play the same numbers week after week after week for draw games. And rather than buying each individual ticket weekly, the subscription service allows them to make those purchases on a subscribed basis. So their numbers are entered, they are played weekly. They have every opportunity to cease those orders. They have every opportunity to change the numbers. It just simply alleviates their from having to make individual purchases for each weekly draw game.
But the purchaser, are they notified? How do they know that they can cancel that? Does it go by year or?
It does. They do have to submit a subscription form yearly to the department. And there's an online website that allows them to modify their subscription, change their numbers, change the frequency of play. Yes. Okay,
so now it's coming to me. So if they don't automatically roll over year to year.
No, they do have to renew that subscription yearly.
Okay, that was what I was trying to understand. Thank you very much.
Committee members, other questions, comments? Seeing none? Motion?
I move that we approved 24P 34 Department of Liquor and Lottery updated Vermont lottery rules with changes proposed by the department at today's meeting.
Okay, we have a motion from Representative Bigley to approve the rule with those modifications. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're all set. Thank you very much. Okay, next up. We have Rule 25, 832, Agency of Human Services, Psychiatric Residential Treatment Facility for Youth Licensing Rule. Briefly for the department, is it Natalie?
On the scroll here, maybe?
Oh,
Muted.
we're not able to hear you, Natalie.
Is that better?
You're very muffled.
If earphones plugged in, sometimes if you have earbuds plugged in, it's.
I don't have earbuds plugged in. Is this not better?
It's
No.
a little bit better, but I'm not sure if everyone will be able to hear you.
Okay. I'm just, the microphone on my laptop just sometimes has a hard time picking up my voice. This isn't better? No.
Yeah,
hear this.
yeah, if anything, it's getting worse.
Oh, it's very nice. Okay. Bringing my laptop kind of closer to my mouth here. Can you hear me better?
That's a little better.
That's a little bit better. Okay, my apologies.
You can speak up, maybe get the volume up a little bit.
Huh. My
Okay.
microphone. Let me just see if I can play with my.
Oh, now
Is that-
you're, yeah,
That is better?
much better.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm so sorry.
You can actually turn it down a little bit.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Is it okay if I begin, Mr. Chair?
A little higher.
Testing. It's
Okay.
not okay anymore?
No, is everyone able to hear?
All right, let's give it a try.
Okay.
Chair Squirrel and committee members, thank you for your time today. Still okay?
Yeah, it's a little, still a little muffled, but we can hear you now.
Gosh.
When you lean forward like that, it gets better.
Okay, I'm gonna talk right into my laptop, so apologies.
Much better, yeah.
All right, here we go. My name is Natalie Weil, and I'm the policy advisor for the Department of Health. And joined with me today are my colleagues Jessica Schifano, the policy director at the Department of Health, Cheryl Wilcox, mental health collaborations director with the Department of Mental Health, and Darlene Wideawake, nurse administrator surveyor with the Department of Disabilities, Aging, Independent Living, Division of Licensing and Protection. With this filing, the department is proposing to establish the Psychiatric Residential Treatment Facility for Youth Licensing Rule, as required by 18 VSA 7261E. This statute requires that the department adopt rules to establish the process by which a psychiatric residential treatment facility for youth can apply for a license in Vermont. The purpose of this rule is to set forth the standards and process that apply to the licensing and psychiatric residential treatment facilities for youth in Vermont. In drafting this rule, the department worked with the Department of Mental Health, the state interagency team, the local interagency teams, the Act 264 Advisory Board, all which were created by Act 264 of 1988, parents of youth who may seek services at a Vermont PRTF, the Vermont Family Network, the Vermont Federations of Families, and the Vermont Care Partners who have reviewed this rule. This rulemaking included a public comment process and a public hearing in which the department responded to all comments received. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Can you speak to maybe the high points about issues that were brought up from various stakeholders or through the process of public comment?
Yes, I would be happy to. So I can say first off that no changes to the rule from public comment. All comments received were actually things that the rule already addresses. And then we were able to take the time in the public comment responsiveness summary to explain how the rule addresses the comments and concerns that the individuals had with the rule. And so this public comment summary response is included in your filing packet. And we received about 4 comments that we grouped based on of a similar nature. And have an individual was asking about the rule limiting or curtailing the amount of total PRTF licenses that the department will offer. And we responded to the commenter saying that the Department of Health doesn't have the ability to limit the amount of licenses. And I'm responding. And also, this individual was concerned about there being too many licenses in Vermont. And we responded by saying that the Agency of Human Services is committed to the community-based care model, and entities seeking a license are subject to the application process that includes inspections and oversight by the Vermont Department of Disabilities Agency, Divisions of Licensing Protection, the Department of Health, and the Office of Professional Regulation. And that licenses must be in compliance with CMS obligations. Individuals asked about the term resident complaint and asking more about what determines that the issue has been resolved once a complaint had been levied against the PRTF. And the Department of Health cited the CMS State Operations Manual, stating that a complaint is considered resolved when a resident is satisfied with the actions taken on their behalf.
Natalie, a question. How long do you maintain the records around complaints and the resolution of complaints?
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So there's no specific record retention requirement in the CMS conditions of participation for PRTFs, nor are there existing applicable state laws that we're aware of that require a specific minimum standard of record retention for PRTFs. However, PRTFs will likely have their own record retention policies driven by statutes of limitations on medical malpractice actions, accounting, or other evidentiary reasons. The rule requires that PRTFs demonstrate that a facility has an adequate system to create and maintain records of complaints. And you can see that cited in section 6.2.6 of the rule. And the rule also requires that PRTFs submit aggregated reports of complaints. And you can see that in section 6.3, and reports of events, section 5.8, to the department, in which the department would retain and destroy in accordance with the Agency of Human Services retention policies.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, are you all finished with your presentation, Natalie?
I'm sorry, is my presentation complete?
Yes.
Yes, unless there are other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Committee members, are there other questions, comments? I'll let the committee know that Senator Lyons did send a letter to our committee saying that the rule does meet legislative intent. We didn't hear from the House Healthcare Committee. So you're aware of that. Okay. Seeing no additional questions or comments, can I have a motion?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
I move that we approve 25P032 Agency of Human Services Psychiatric Residential Treatment Facility for Youth Licensing Rule with the changes proposed by the department in the memorandum dated November 10, 2025.
We didn't, before we take a vote on that, the November 10th memo, Daniel, there's so much there, is it just?
So let me pull open the memo here. It was mostly just some typos and minor word changes. So things like switching as called for by or in accordance with, clarifying a resident's parent or legal guardian could make a complaint on behalf of the resident. Some punctuation errors, and then clarifying in a list in Rule 8 that you could do one or more of the following instead of having and or at the end of it.
Thank you. With that, any additional, we have a motion from Reverend Zakowicz. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you, Natalie.
Thank you very much.
Okay, last up we have P25, Rule 25, P33, Agency of Human Services Manufactured Food Rule. I believe that this is a permanent rule that the emergency rule that we heard a short while ago.
That's correct.
And Natalie, are you speaking to this also?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, why don't you take it away?
The volume is still okay?
Yeah, it's great.
Wonderful.
Just don't move too much. It's just in the right spot. So.
Okay. Chair Squirrel and committee members, thank you for your time today. My name is Natalie Weil, and I'm the policy advisor for the Department of Health. And with me today again is Jessica Schifano, policy director with the Department of Health. With this filing, the department is proposing to amend the manufactured food rule. The purpose of this rule is to provide the requirements for the safe and sanitary manufacturing, packing, holding, and distributing of human food for sale offered in Vermont. Act 42 of 2025 changed the requirements for claiming a license exemption for certain types of small food manufacturers. The manufactured food emergency rule became effective on July 1st, 2025, and is due to expire on December 28th, 2025. This rule is intended to make the changes established in the Manufactured Food Emergency Rule permanent. The changes to the rule, which align with the requirements in law, establish the following: definitions for cottage food operation, cottage food operator, cottage food product, non-potentially hazardous baked good, and time or temperature control for safety. An exemption for cottage food operators with gross annual sales of cottage food products up to $30,000 from the requirement to obtain a license, which replaces the exemption for bakery products made in a home kitchen with gross annual sales of $6,500. A requirement for annual exemption filing for license-exempt food manufacturers, a requirement for annual training for license-exempt food manufacturers, and a process for cottage food operators to submit requests to the department for a determination regarding whether the product they are making is a cottage food. This rulemaking included a public comment process and a public hearing. And while the department did not receive any public comments on the rule, the department received relevant verbal public comment on the Manufactured Food Emergency Rule during the Lcar hearing on August 7th, 2025. And we incorporated the response to these comments into the public comment responsiveness summary included in this rule filing packet. Similarly, on August 7th, 2025, Lcar made recommendations to the Manufactured Food Emergency Rule, and accordingly, the department incorporated all of Lcar's recommendations into this formal manufactured food rule. In drafting the rule, the department worked with Vermont food manufacturers, licensed home bakers, and licensed exempt food processors who previously filed exemption forms in the past, and the Department of Environmental Conservation, who have reviewed and support the proposed changes. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Ready, members? Questions, comments? Representative Hinckley.
Mr. Chair, thank you. You had mentioned a figure of $6,500, and I don't see that anywhere. Just looking quickly, what was that figure again in regards to?
Yes, thank you. That is the new exemption is now $30,000, and the $30,000 exemption replaces the existing $6,500 ceiling. So that $6,500 ceiling would no longer exist.
Okay, thank you. And then just one other quick question. When talking about the required annual training for license exempt folks, what does that annual training consist of? Is it a day-long thing? Is it something folks can do online?
Yes, it is something that folks can do online. It takes between 30 and 45 minutes, and it's posted on the Department of Health's webpage, and it's essentially a slideshow.
Thank you.
Other member? Seeing none, motion?
I move that we approve 25P33 Agency of Human Services Manufactured Food Rule.
On the back as supposed to approve the rule. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you very much.
Okay, definite. Okay, the only other item on the agenda is the 2026 calendar. Typically, we meet for an hour on Thursday mornings. Everyone has a copy of it, right?
Yep.
So, I don't think they need to approve it.
No, you need to approve it. It just. everyone aware.
What I would ask every committee member to do is look at this, and if there are particular dates on here, not when I stand there, anything other than the fact that we may not be all the way through May into June, but
I hope you're right.
just to let Lindsay know, and then Lindsay communicate that to me, and we can try to figure out some changes for that. Obviously, the schedule is dependent on rules,
Yeah.
and I try to, you know, we only have one rule, I might hold it for the next week or something like that, so we can make also better use of our other time for our other jobs here, so. Any other comments? Thank you very much, and with that, we're adjourned.